Hello everyone, this is Advocate Dr. Sheetal Babar, and today's session we shall be discussing or rather answering a question: what is state? When I ask you a question, what is a state, there's so many things and thoughts which come up to your mind, and you want to answer it in so many ways. However, in this session, we shall be discussing what is state in the context of Indian Constitution, or rather through interpretations and considerations taken by the judiciary underneath Indian Constitution. Article 12 of Indian Constitution deals up with what is state. It has defined state under Article 12. The Indian Constitution defines state under Article 12 as it includes the government and parliament of India, the government and state legislatures, and thirdly, local or other authorities. Now, the question as to first two is quite clear because it is quite specific as to government and Parliament of India and government and state legislatures. A very specific context, and hence there remain no controversy regarding to these 2 points. However, third point, that is local or other authorities, have always been come up into the controversies. And for these, there are so many judicial interpretations. If you just search as to what are the judicial interpretations, you could get hundreds and thousands of judicial interpretations. However, in this session, we shall be confining our part just to understand what basically these judgments or judicial interpretations and how these judicial interpretations have come up to define other authorities or local authorities underneath Article 12. This question had arisen under State Electricity Board of State of Rajasthan versus Mohanlal. Now, prior to this particular case, other authorities was always taken up as a context in a gestum generis. That means a general context applicable to all those common genesis. In this particular landmark judgment, I must say that apex court rejected this point or rejected this particular point, stating as to it is only a gestum generis is the principle applicable to only those who are running the functions or functioning in a common genus. When it comes to corporations, when it comes to authorities underneath Article 12, they definitely are not the one who runs or functions through this common genus. They are for certain specifications. This was also considered further in Sukhdev Singh versus Bhagat Ram. Conjointly, I must mention these 2 cases which took up 2 points of considerations to define what is this other authority and whether it comes under Article 12 of Indian Constitution. Firstly, it states whether this authority is created by constitution or a statute. Secondly, whether it imposes or gives any power to this corporation, or whether this corporation has any powers conferred upon it by law. If the answer for these 2 points is affirmative, that particular authority definitely comes under Article 12. That is what Electricity Board of State of Rajasthan versus Mohanlal, as well as Sukhdev Singh versus Bhagat Ram's case have been held with, or basically these 2 cases held this particular point as to if affirmative answer for these 2 questions, then yes, it is the authority which comes under Article 12 of Indian Constitution. However, sometimes there are instances where the government needs to delegate its power to other authorities or other corporations, or there might be establishment of certain corporations who are just functioning as agents for the government. So what about these? Whether these authorities who actually are not the government authorities but just are the agents to these government authorities, whether they come under Article 12. This question was meticulously answered by none other than Justice Bhagwati in R.D. Shetty versus International Airport Authority. Justice Bhagwati meticulously stated that corporation acting as an instrumentality or agency of the government obviously comes underneath Article 12. And they cannot have any liberty to violate the fundamental rights of any individual or anyone. The question always arises why this controversy comes, or we come across these controversies whether a particular corporation is a state or not. The whole context is about violation of fundamental rights of any individual or citizen or non-citizen, especially the citizen of India. And to answer this, we have to consider, the judiciary has to consider whether a particular authority is a state or not. If it is a state, then there is imposition not only of powers but more of responsibilities on the state, wherein they are restricted to violate or they're prohibited from violating any fundamental right or infringing any fundamental right of the citizen of India. Next, I would rather refer here Ajay Hasia versus Khalid Mujid's case, wherein I would say an advanced context or advanced facet was given to what Justice Bhagwati has stated earlier. Ajay Hasia's case put up 5 considerations, or rather it was held as the test to find out whether a particular corporation is state or not, or whether it falls under Article 12 of Indian Constitution or not. The 5 considerations. First, whether the whole share capital of this particular corporation is held by government. If yes, yes, it is state under Article 12. Secondly, if there is any deep and pervasive state control. If yes, then yes, it is Article 12 and it is state under Article 12. Thirdly, if it has a functional character, the essence of which is governmental, or rather if it is of any public importance or significance. If the answer is yes, then yes, that corporation is a state under Article 12. Fourthly, if the Department of Government has transferred its power, so if there is any delegation to any particular corporation from the government, and the answer is in affirmation, then yes, it is a state under Article 12. And finally, if the corporation enjoys the monopoly status which is sponsored by the government. If yes, then in all of these following 5 points, the answer in affirmation in all of these contexts, or singly or individually, any one of the answers amongst this comes affirmative, then we say yes. The corporation comes under the purview of Article 12 of Indian Constitution, which defines what is a state. So these corporations are state. Now, this was something which we've been discussing, something in generality. However, there was a specific question which was arisen in Som Prakash versus Union of India. The question here was whether Bharat Petroleum Corporation is state or not, and whether it comes under Article 12, purview of Article 12. Now, in this particular case, it was quite meticulously expressed by the Apex Court that other authorities is not confined only to the statutory corporations, but it may include the companies which are government companies. They might be companies who are registered. There might be societies, registered societies also come underneath this context of other authorities and bodies which have some, I put up this word again, some nexus with the government. So not always other authorities do remain the authorities which are not the government authorities. Many a times, or rather this context of, or this term of other authorities definitely is inclusive of government authorities. When it comes to government authorities and all of those authorities which come underneath the scope of government authorities, we consider all of these other authorities as state, which definitely comes under the coverage and scope of Article 12. So this is what state is all about under Article 12 of Indian Constitution. Thank you so much.